Hi, guys, and welcome to Uncorked, a podcast where we get raw and real, all while under the influence. We are your hosts. I am Madison.
And I am Katie. Thank you guys for joining us. Today, we actually have a guest with us. Her name is Jerica. So, what would you like to say to everyone, Jerica? Just
introduce yourself.
My name's Jerica, and I'm friends with Katie, and now Madison, and I don't really know what to say.
That's okay. That's okay. This is Jerica. I know her from her fiance, actually, because I grew up with Zach. Yeah, she's super cool, and we're excited to have her today. What would you like to, just give a little brief description about yourself, Jerica?
So I am Zach's fiance, and we have 2 kids. So I'm a mommy too, and my son, his name is Braxton, and he is 3 years old in April. And then I have a daughter who is 1, and that's about, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Just chilling, girl. But we're excited to have you, girl. So thank you for coming with us today. Yeah. Before we get started, we're going to go ahead and uncork the bottle of wine that we have for this episode. So we have the French Lick Red. It is a sweet table wine that is made with 100% Concord grapes and produces rich, juicy, and sweet flavor that is velvety and full flavored on the palate. It pairs well with aged cheeses, Chinese food, barbecue, pork chops, and pizza. All right.
Okay, so on today's episode, we're going to discuss how our moms raised us versus how we want to be as a mom and how we want to raise our children. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this topic was just how kind of as I'm getting older, I'm just realizing, like watching all my friends be moms and stuff, how I want to be as a mom. I never really thought about it that much, but now that I'm getting older and talked about having kids, I've just noticed some things that I would want to do differently. I was raised by a single mom. She was married for a little while when I was a kid, but it's pretty much a single parent household. I have an older brother. We moved around a lot. I've probably lived in over 20 houses. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Just kind of a rough dynamic.
Yeah.
Never really being stable.
Right. And yeah, it can be tough. What about you, Jerica?
So I lived a pretty tough lifestyle as a kid as well. And it definitely impacted my life in a lot of ways that affects me now as a parent. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I definitely wanted to do this with you guys. Yeah. I grew up my mom was a single mom, and she definitely had some PTSD and was addicted to drugs, and that affected me growing up with her and her parenting me. And it was just with my sister for a little bit, and we were really, really poor, and she was very neglectful and negligent against us. And so our house was really, really dirty and filthy, and I would go to school with really dirty clothes and not showering and things like that. So definitely being raised like that was really hard, and it can affect you as an adult in the way you parent now. So I guess, I don't know, just trying to be better than that every day. I try and fix all the little holes because they're still there from how you were raised.
100%. I wanted to talk about this topic with you guys, and definitely having Jerica on. She brings a new perspective to this topic as well. But I didn't really look into my childhood a whole lot until I became pregnant and had Wyatt, and I looked back and was like, wow, I don't know. I just want to change how, I don't know how to say it, but I want my kids to look at it differently than I do. I don't want them to look back and think wow, my childhood was hurtful or just rough. Mm-hmm. I want them to look back and be like, oh, my mom was awesome. Mm-hmm. She cared.
Right.
So And you can look back and find those positive like memories, but it can be hard when you feel like there's so much negative that had happened. My mom was a single mom. She divorced my dad when I was 2 because he was a drug addict, and he was in and out like most of my life. And I felt like, I don't know, but I didn't feel as loved as I feel that I should have been. So it's just hard looking back.
Absolutely.
Questions to ask each other. When did you start looking back into your childhood?
I probably started looking back probably like maybe like freshman year of college, or just when I started like meeting more people, or like when I met TJ and like was brought into his family.
Yeah.
It really like made me reflect, like my family was so different and like my background is so different. So that made me really reflect and be like, wow, like our challenges were completely different. So probably just as I got older, I definitely thought about my childhood a lot in high school. I think I had a lot of like aggression towards my mom and stuff, like just like built up anger, like resentment from all the things when I was younger. So that's probably like really when it started.
Yeah. What about you, Jerica?
So I moved in with my grandma full time when I was about 14 years old. And then a couple years after that, so maybe 16 years old, is when I really started to realize like,
this is not normal.
This is not, and this is really going to affect me later on. Because of like how I was raised with my mom, and she just kind of was so depressed with herself and on all these different types of medications that she was abusing, and took it out on us all the time, and kind of like made it like we were her, I don't know if it would be like a punching bag or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a doormat.
Yeah. And it was just really gets with you. But when I started living with my grandma, and it was full time, like she had gotten full custody of me, I realized like how amazing she was, and this is what love is, and this is like unconditional, and how much better of a life we can give our children. So
yeah, I think that's how it was for me too. And like what Maddie said, like when you start dating someone, when I started dating Nick, I became really close with Angel, my mother-in-law now, and like she's so fucking awesome, and she's like one of my best friends. Like I look at her as like a mom to me, and it kind of showed me like, oh, like Jerica said, like this is how it should be.
yeah.
You know, just feel loved.
Yes.
Right.
Overall, how do you view your childhood? What would you rate your childhood?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
I don't know. So my mom was very nurturing. She had her moments. Like my whole family has like mental issues, and they're all different and like on very different scales and stuff. And my mom had a really troubled childhood as well. So that kind of wore off, I think, on how she was as a mom. And then, so like, there were moments where she would like take her anger out on us and stuff, and it was like not pretty at all. But then she was really nurturing. She had like that good side of her, but she wasn't very like structural. Like there was no structure.
Yeah.
She didn't really like set boundaries. Like, I don't know, like there was just like a lot of things that we knew about, or that I knew about, that I shouldn't have known about as a kid.
Did she kind of like let you do whatever you wanted, and then when it hit a certain point, she would just get mad?
Not in that sorts. I think, so my mom was a really bad child, like really bad. And she'll tell, like she told, like she was open with me and my brother about like everything that she did. And so I think like knowing how bad she was and everything, like I was scared. I never did anything bad. Like I drank and stuff, obviously like in high school, but she knew about that. Like she would buy me alcohol.
You didn't
and
rebel
stuff.
though.
Yeah. So I was too scared, probably because I was scared of her. Like she would literally like, when she gets mad, she's like a whole different person. You just have to like separate yourself and be like, you know, go blow off your steam or whatever. But she was nurturing. Like she came to, when she like wasn't working and stuff, she came to all our sporting events. Like she tried to do her best, I think. I think that she thought the things that we needed or wanted were like different than what we actually, like what I actually wanted. Like she thought we needed to be in sports, or she thought that we needed to have like the nice clothes and stuff, but like that's not really what we wanted or needed.
Yeah.
But it was just like literally like every week you would, or like every day you'd come home and you wouldn't know if like your phone was shut off, your lights were shut off, if you were moving, like we didn't know. You just like never knew what to expect.
And now that probably just like puts you on edge.
Yeah, I'm like literally scared every day, like my lights are gonna be shut off or something. Like I think one day,
even though it was like
it was just my side of the street, our power was off, but our neighbors across the street all had power. So our power wasn't working, and I was like freaking out, and I saw our neighbors had power. So I was like, oh my gosh, like is our fucking power shut off? But it wasn't. But I like panicked. I literally had like a panic attack.
Right.
Because I was like, I can't be that way. Like I cannot like have my phone and stuff shut off.
Yeah. What about you, Jerica?
Definitely growing up with my mom was really, really hard, and I would never wish that upon my kids. Like that would break my heart if I ever like that happened to them. But I feel like at the same time I'm almost grateful or at peace with it, because it made me who I am today.
Yeah.
And I'm so much more aware of like what not to do and all that stuff. And there was so many other elements in growing up in addition to like my mom and all that. So I would say it was pretty rough, but I mean, it definitely made me who I am today. And I feel like I used to have so much anger towards my mom because of that, because it was like you wake up every day and you have a choice to either be, you know, this great mom or not. And I feel like she chose every day not to be. Right. And so that's super hard to take in. But now as a mom, I look back and I'm like, man, this is really hard. I totally feel bad for being so hard on her, but I don't know.
But it's like also flip side is just like it was just bad. It
really was.
I felt like my mom, like after my dad left, and I feel like she just leaned on me and treated me as almost like her friend, opposed to just being a mom.
Yes.
So anything that happened like in her relationships, she would vent to me about. Anything that happened with my dad, she would vent to me about. And looking back, I'm like, I should have never known about any of that.
Yeah, my mom did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it does make you mature, but it doesn't give you like the chance to be like a child. Like,
yes.
Also, there was just some things that I have brought up to her now that she just refuses to think that is true or real.
Take accountability for.
Yeah. And it's hard to forgive her for all of that. So yeah, it's just rough. When your kids or future kids look back, what do you want them to feel and think about you?
I think I want my future kids just to know that they were my priority. Like, I don't want to be that mom that works all the time or like misses stuff or is like exhausted when I get home. Like, I want them to feel like they're my number one. And I want them to feel like they could be a kid. Like, I don't want them to have to grow up fast. Like, I had to grow up so fast.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to know about like our struggles or like, I don't want them to stress about stuff. Like when I was in middle school, I remember stressing about like everyone had like phone plans and like everyone started getting cell phones, but like we couldn't get cell phones because my mom like literally could not get a phone plan because her credit score was so bad or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I don't want my kids to like have to stress about that stuff.
Yeah. For me, I just want them to feel more than anything like they can come to me for anything. That they're just loved, and I want them to set them up for success. And that includes mental health and includes like being emotionally strong in everything that they do. And I don't know, just feel like my parents are awesome and they're like my parents. They taught me stuff. They like
I wanna
actually
be that-
cared.
Exactly.
I want to be that house that like your kids want to bring all their friends
Absolutely.
to,
Right.
and like that because like I have friends' parents. Well, when I was like in high school, I had friends' parents that I was like super close with. Like they were like my mom, and my mom was that to like a lot of my friends. Like I would like to be that house where like everyone comes to and feels welcome and stuff.
Yeah.
Just comfortable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. What are some things your mom did that you think wasn't the best that you like never planned to do? Or almost like what not to do?
What are them? So my mom definitely like talked really bad about both my mom or my sister's dad and my dad in front of us all the time.
Yeah.
And my sister's dad was a really bad alcoholic, but he spoiled her so much all the time. So she always like got what she wanted, and I was always like envious of that because I grew up with absolutely like nothing,
Right.
and going to school and everybody had all these nice things, and I never had that. You know, I remember when I was in elementary school and there were kids with like Converse, and I was wearing shoes that were donated to me through Salvation Army, and they weren't even big enough for my feet.
Right.
You know, she just didn't say the best things about my dad, and he was never in the picture from the get. It's kind of, I don't know if he was just scared to have a daughter, because I do have an older brother as well, and he's really involved in
His life.
Yeah. And my dad has never met my daughter at all, and he has only met my son twice. And I've been around my dad maybe 10 times in the whole time I've been alive.
Yeah.
So, but she would just say all these nasty things, and so I would have the fact that he is not in my life, and then all these things that she's saying about him. And then,
And as a child, you like almost have to believe that because
Yeah.
your mom, that's
Yeah.
your mom
Absolutely.
telling you this.
yeah, I mean, what else would you believe? I
Right.
have no other memory of him, and
And your mom's the one that's around. So
she would just take all of her anger out on us, and it made us feel like, you know, this was our fault that she was so upset, or the house was dirty because of us, because we're not doing our part.
because you're kids, you make messes.
Absolutely. I had to grow up so quick, and so that's definitely
hard.
some stuff. Yeah. And she definitely had very bad, like, explosive anger, and that's something that I carry with me today, because I have that as well, and I am a whole different other person. So that's something that wasn't the best that she did, and I hope that I can.
Yeah. I
reverse
definitely get the anger thing. Like my mom will just explode.
Yeah.
And she'll turn into like a whole different person. And I get that way. Like I get so mad, I'll like just hit something, or
just,
like
like,
my first
bring up
instinct
everything.
is just to like fight, because my mom, and so my birth dad passed away when I was a baby, and then my mom got remarried when I was I was like 4 years old, and they were married for like 10 years. But them getting divorced was like a 3-year process, because it was like off and on, kick him out, bring him back, kick him out, bring him back. It was terrible. So I definitely get the whole thing. Like they would just talk shit about each other to us. So then we like have all these like, well, why would you do that, Mom? Like this is what he's saying, or this is what she's saying. And like, I definitely don't want my kids to know that like they should not know, and they shouldn't have that perception of like that's what a relationship is like.
Exactly.
Because that's like my first instinct is, if me and TJ like get in a disagreement, is just to like scream and fight. But like that's not what should happen.
No.
Yeah.
And I definitely have, I mean, I still have to learn that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Exactly the same.
My biggest thing is like I don't want to ever feel like my kids are like controlled by me. Like for the longest time, I'm a people pleaser. Like that's what I love to make other people happy, even though like it's not good for me sometimes.
Yes.
And like my side of the family, it just felt like I had to do whatever I had to do to get like attention, or like get the praise, or just to make them feel the most comfortable. And growing up now, and now that I have my own life, I think it's hard for them to change their perspective. Like, I'm an adult.
Yes.
And like, I literally can do whatever like I want to.
You don't have to
like,
listen to them anymore.
Yeah. So that has been hard, and just trying to find my own strength, like growing up. And I don't want to have my kids feel like, oh, you have to go do this because I want you to, or this is the person that I want you to be. Like, Wyatt and Renly can do whatever they want to do.
I don't want to be that mom that's like, I'm your mom, so you have to do what I say.
Right.
Or like, you have to do whatever because I'm your mom, because you're entitled, because I'm entitled, because I'm just your mom.
Right.
Like, yeah, you are my mom, and I respect that, and I love that, but like, I don't have to do that.
Right.
Like, I don't have to do what you say. You don't control me. Like, you know, like, I love you, and I'll do anything for you, but like, if they're like, you don't do this for me, or you don't come help me, but I'm your mom, like, I raised you.
Yeah.
Like, do you want a round of applause for raising me?
Right.
Like
that's
you're
your
the
job.
one
That had me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely hard looking back. I did pull up some like tips or like tricks when being a good parent after a hard childhood. None of us had the easiest childhoods, I would say, but just take your strengths and weaknesses into account, understand yourself as much as you can, and work on those. I know we all said that we have something that is hard just looking back. The more we understand our inner lives, the more options we have to move forward. Don't be afraid to reach out to a friend, a coworker, or family if you're struggling. Having a mentor when it comes to parenting can be huge. Take small steps. Doing something different can be awkward, and it may feel weird to do something totally different than what you are used to. Every positive experience helps build stronger pathways. Positive childhood experiences have a beneficial effect on health and well-being, regardless of the number of negative childhood experiences. So I think that's huge too. Like, I know my mom was huge on like gift giving when I was younger. Like, she always made sure that I had like really cool stuff, and anything that I asked for, I usually got. And that's not a bad thing always, but it's just like, if you look back at it, I don't remember anything that they got. I remember like experiences, like going to the zoo or going to a museum. Like, those are the things I look back on and I'm like, that was like super fucking cool.
Yeah, my grandparents were like that. They took me, actually so I've been all over I was really into like marine biology when I was younger, and I wanted to be a marine biologist. So I was like, yeah, this is so tight. And so they took me to all kinds of aquariums all over, and just museums, zoos, places. I've been it was the most amazing thing, and I will forever cherish that more than an iPad or some cool shoes.
Like, looking back, it's just like, just remember, and like, kids just love being played with.
Yes, they do.
They just want you to sit down and like build a Lego set with them. They love that shit. They don't want, and they don't need a bunch of things just to make them happy.
Yeah.
So. Alrighty. Before we move on, please make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and or share this podcast with your friends. Join our Facebook group, Uncorked, to stay updated and connected with us. We just post a bunch of memes and videos, and we do like polls and different things. And yeah. You want to go ahead with tips on what a good parent gives their kids?
Okay, an unqualified apology. So one hallmark of being bad parenting is an inability to admit fault. When you're wrong, it's a gift to validate your child's perceptions by saying you're sorry. No excuses. It's not their fault that you're tired or worried about work. Don't gloss over mistakes. Described it to a point on how it could have gone better. I think that's like the point of like, it's not their fault that you're tired.
Yeah.
Or like my mom would always say, I'm a single mom, I'm going to school, you should be thankful for what you have, or
Right.
you know, or like I'm going to school all the time, I can't be at everything, or I'm going to school all the time, you have to clean or do all this stuff, but like it's not my fault that you're going to school now.
Right.
So that's hard. Like I want to set those boundaries. Like I don't want my kids to, like I don't want to come home from work and be like I can't play with you or I can't do stuff.
Yeah.
Like they shouldn't worry about that.
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard too because you just have, it feels like you have so much to do. Like you got to clean the house, you got to just do anything and work, and they just want to be played with for 30 minutes of the day.
Right. Just take that like little chunk of time to actually like sit with them, read a book.
Yeah.
Like ask
Cuddle
them
with
what
them.
they're interested in.
Yes.
Do what they want, and don't make them like go on stuff with you. Like I remember my mom used to have to run errands all the time, and so she would take me with her, which was fine, I guess, because you have to take your kids. But like I would go to like the check in the cash thing and like watch her like sit there and like cash her checks out or whatever, like get money, however you do that. I don't know how it works. And so she could have money to like pay our bills in time, but then you like owe more on that. So like I would go to those places with her, or like bringing your kids along for stuff that they shouldn't be along for. Like my old stepdad used to like, he was like a bad person, and he used to go to strip clubs at night all the time, and my mom would wake me up because I was like too young to stay home. My mom would wake me up, and like I'd have to sit in the car while she like went inside and found him in the strip club.
Dude, same.
While I was a child.
My mom, like my mom's boyfriend, he was not a good person either, to say the least. Like when they were first dating, he was in prison, and she would like have me write letters to him.
Oh, I used to go to, my mom would take me into the jail to see my stepdad, because he used to go in and out of jail, and we used to go in there and visit him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like
And
literally dating.
She used to take me to houses, like they would smoke weed in, and like literally just sit there like rolling blunts, and me and my brother were just like sitting there like as children.
They would do it just out in the open. With
Oh,
you.
out in the open. I used to help my old stepdad roll cigarettes all the time.
Same.
As a kid.
Yeah, same.
That was like normal. I thought it was fun because I was like helping, but like thinking back, like I probably should never have known how to do that.
That's insane.
Like, I should never know how to do that.
It's like,
as a
what
child.
the fuck? But she used to have me, like, she couldn't find him sometimes. So she would go out in her car, and we had Sprint. So they had like the Sprint tracker back then. So I would hop on my computer, and she would call me and be like, she would be like, what street is he on? Like, let's go. I'm trying to find him. Like, almost there.
That's what we used to do when we went to the strip club.
And how old were you guys when this happened?
Oh, I was in elementary school. My mom and stepdad like officially got divorced when I was in 8th grade or freshman year, I think. And that was like a long time coming.
Yeah. I think I was probably like 10 or 11 when that one was happening. Yeah. It's just
Too young.
Too young.
And like when you bring this stuff up to them now, sometimes they just don't. I don't know if they don't remember or if they just like block it out.
It might be.
I think it's hard because they remember it from like a parent standpoint,
Right.
and like their eyes, and they don't see it from like a child's eyes.
Yeah.
So like my mom now, because she's been like working on her issues ever since my grandma passed away. So her and my grandma have a long built up history of issues, and they were like finally kind of working on them and stuff. But then my grandma like suddenly passed away and stuff, and so that kind of brought back a ton of issues for my mom because they like weren't resolved. And so now my mom's like trying to resolve things with me and my brother, and she's like, I'm open to like listening to whatever you say, like I'll listen, but it's hard for me to actually tell her like how stuff's affected me, I think, because I don't want to like make her sad or like make her upset, because she'll just start crying, or she'll be like, I never meant to be a bad mom, or like I did my best, or you know, like I tried my best, you always had what you needed. But like from our perspective, like we didn't.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't know.
I think the biggest thing with my mom is she doesn't ever want to admit those things or that they happened, or even that she was like wrong. Like she refuses to do that. And I get that it's hard, but like I will tell Wyatt, like, I'm so sorry for that, bub. Like I didn't mean to do that. Or like sometimes he like tries to help his sister, and she'll like accidentally fall, and I'll be like, what? Like, what happened? Like, you'll go up to him and just be like, what? And then he'll like explain it, and I'll just be like, I'm sorry, bud. Like, I didn't know you were trying to help sissy.
Yeah.
but just admitting you're wrong to a child is so impactful. And they're like, oh, like adults can be wrong too. It's not all on me as a child. But yeah, just make sure you apologize when you're wrong to your children. And it can be hard, but you got to do it. Discretion. It may be hard to resist complaining to your child or your children about your parents or frustrations or fears, but it's important that you're not burden your kids with information they may not be capable of grappling with or place them in the role of confidant. So, yeah, I think we all dealt with this.
Yeah, I think so.
There's just no discretion whatsoever.
Yeah. I think one of the big things, I think my whole family, so my family's small in general. My mom was always like the outlier. She made herself an outlier, and she was like a bad child. So then she became the outlier. And my whole family, everyone is like wealthy, made like a really good life for themselves and stuff. So my mom, being the outlier, had kids, so we were the outliers. But like as kids, like I didn't feel like an outlier. Like we just went and hung out with our cousins, like but my mom always, like the car ride there, she'd complain about everyone, or she would like let us know like, oh, these people have money, they're doing this. So then I would feel like an outlier. I'd be like, oh, well, my girl cousins, like they don't want to hang out with me because I'm poor and they're like rich. Or she'd be like, well, they don't like you guys because you're different from them, or because they all have Uggs and they all got really expensive things for Christmas, but we didn't. Like my mom would kind of like reiterate that to us. So then me and my brother felt left out because she told us that there was a separation. But I feel like if she would have never brought that stuff up to us, like there would have never been a separation, because now we're not close to any of our cousins or like have anything in common with any of them. We barely, like for a long time, we barely had a relationship with my uncle, because her and my uncle like had a horrible relationship.
They hate each other
because their childhoods were completely different. And I don't know my uncle's whole childhood because he doesn't talk about he doesn't talk about that with us. So they grew up differently. So my mom and him like did not like each other at all. So then,
is he older?
No, he's younger. So then in return, she made us not like him. And now she always gets mad. Like if we talk to him, she's like, oh, you like him more than me. And I'm like, why is that? Why is that like even a, yeah. She's like, you love him more than me. I'm like no. Why is that in your head? Like, where did you get that from? Because I want to have a relationship with my uncle.
Yeah. When I was first dating Nick, I would come home and I was like meeting Angel for the first time. I was like, she's so cool. I just remember my mom being like, well, you can just go be best friends with her then.
Yeah. My mom did the same thing when I started dating TJ's family. She was like, you're over there all the time. Why don't you go live with them? I know you like them more. Yeah. You see them more than us.
That just made me feel so awful. I'm like you're still my mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like why?
But when they tell you that, you feel like they don't want you around, or like like you feel
or
that
like
tension.
I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because I have a relationship with somebody else.
They want you to make you feel guilty for like not spending time with them.
My mom was actually exactly like that. She's always just got something to say about somebody, and I love her, and but it's just like when you're constantly fed that judgmental type of point of view about everyone, you do start to think, oh well, does my aunt really feel that way about me? Or well, geez, my cousins aren't talking to me, they must, because my mom and her sister did not really get along growing up, and as adults they don't get along now. And I think that issue that they have, my mom definitely brought upon us as kids, and it affected our relationship between aunt and niece, and then me and my cousins. And like you were saying, Katie, how your mom, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. I'm just trying like not to get emotional right now. It's hard.
A lot. Like there definitely needs to be things that kids know about, and things adults know about. My mom loves drama.
Yes.
And she tells you that she doesn't.
Yes.
She's like, I hate drama.
Exactly.
And I'm like, but it's always, you're always involved in the drama. So clearly you like to be involved.
If she doesn't have anybody to talk about or doesn't have drama at the moment, she like creates it or goes finds somebody else's.
Yeah.
And jumps in it.
There are times when, like, my mom and I are civil now, but there's times when every time I talk to her, it's her talking about somebody else or a situation that's going on, or her
100%.
complaining about somebody else. There's never any like, oh, well, how are you today?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, how are you feeling? And what's something that's been going on in your life? It's just constantly always her.
Like negativity.
Her. Yeah. And
There's
it
only so
definitely
much
affects
like,
you.
negative that you can take.
And like
Yeah, as a-
everybody has their problems.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
But like I don't mind, because like you were saying, like you want to be open with your kids and you want them to be able to come to you for everything, like anything, and you want to have that good relationship. But there's a point, like I don't mind my mom telling me her problems, every once in a while, like,
but I don't want Wyatt to be
but
my
I don't
person
need
to talk to.
Exactly.
I don't need all your details. I don't
Yeah.
need to know all your struggles, like. And then I feel like sometimes she tells us because she wants us to like feel sorry for her or like help her, or like it's just like exhausting sometimes. Like I have my own problems and I don't want to hear about your problems, because like I don't
Let's
want to
wait
have
on
your
yours.
burden and my
Yes,
burden. Like
exactly.
that's a lot of
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And like you said, with her telling you about the dads,
Yeah.
like your sister's dad and your dad, that's just ridiculous.
She would do the same with my grandma as well, who is like the most perfect person in the whole world.
Right.
And there was a situation when I had was moving into my grandparents in that transition, and they were in court, and my grandma called and left a voicemail and was like super nasty. But and she holds that like against my grandma so much, but everything that my mom has said and everything that my mom has did, they're two different things, and everything that my grandma has said and what my grandma has done,
Yeah.
it's just it's constant negativity all of the time, and it's always trying to make everyone else look bad so that she can feel like better about herself.
She always
I
like
think
they
that's
play
a
the
huge
victim
thing.
role.
At least for my mom, I know that she's really insecure.
Yes.
And for me, I just don't see how bashing other people can
Like
make you feel better.
Correct.
It doesn't. It does for like a short period of time, I think. But it doesn't. My mom used to do the same thing with my grandma. So my grandma was an angel. She had mental issues as well. But to me, she was an angel. And I never knew about her issues until I started getting older and everyone started talking about them. And my mom, I think like there were things that I knew about my grandma that my grandma probably would never have wanted me to know, but my mom told us.
Like told you.
And there were moments like in between houses or in between stuff, we would live with my grandma. Or like I would stay there for a period of time and stuff. And every time I would come home, my mom would be like, "You're such a different person when you come home from your grandma's house. Why are you like such a bitch?" But like, because my grandma's was like a stable, like we woke up, she made us breakfast every morning. She took us to the park. Like, yeah, it was nice. We would like watch movies, but then my mom's house, it's like always chaos.
Yeah.
Always. There's always yelling. And my grandma was not like, there was no yelling in my grandma's house. So when I moved back from Ball State, me and my mom, like that summer was literally the worst summer of my life with my mom. It was just me and my mom in that house because my brother moved out. And all my childhood, my brother was like my saving grace. Like we were so close because most of the time we were home by ourselves because my mom would work third shift and she'd go to school or whatever. So me and my brother were super close. Well, he left me. And then I was old enough that I was like not taking her shit anymore. And so we would get in fights. And this one time we like got in a fist fight in the living room and Cassie was there. And I was like, I'm going to go live with grandma. And as soon as I would mention moving into my grandma's house, my mom would lose it. Because in her eyes, that means my grandma had won. Because like my whole childhood, my grandma always said, like, I'm going to take custody of your kids. I'm going to take your kids. And my mom was never to the point where she could have gotten custody taken away. Like it was never that bad, but my grandma always threatened that. And so as soon as I would bring that up, it would like flip a switch in my mom and she would just go crazy. So this one time, me and my mom tried to have like a good conversation that summer at my grandma's house so my grandma could be like the mediator. And it ended so badly. My mom literally stood up and like looked me in the eyes. And so it was me and TJ on a couch. My mom was sitting like on a chair on the other side of the room and my grandma was sitting in her chair. And my grandma was like, just open up, like talk about what you're feeling. And like we'll help, we'll go through it. And I started opening up, and my mom did apparently not like that. And she literally stood up and like looked me in the eyes, and she was like, I'm going to leave right now before I beat your ass. And I was just like, okay. And my grandma was like, you need to get out of my house right now. Like, you should never say that to your child.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes me sick.
So she left, and my grandma was like, I'm so sorry that your mom's like that. But my mom was like that. Like, my mom hit my grandma. My mom went to jail at like 14 or something for hitting my grandma.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It was terrible.
My mom and I we were in many altercations when I was younger, and it was physical, it was verbal. She was extremely verbally abusive towards me, and I was the same towards her. And I grew up to be so rebellious, like nobody was going to tell me anything to do or anything, because like I already knew how to take care of myself and be an adult at 10 years old, you know, and who was going to tell me. And so it was just a lot of that anger and like meanness that she was to me stayed inside of me for a really long time. And I was not a very nice person, and I was always mean to other people, actually, when I was in high school. And I think a lot of that was because of my mom and retaliating. And it took one person who told me, it was like, hey, you know what, this is not how you should act. This is a terrible person. And I was like, you know what, you're right. I'm acting exactly how my mom is, and I never want to be like that again. And I actually am not a very religious person, but I started to like look into like God and all kinds of other things like Buddhism, and like transition my life, because I wasn't going to allow that negativity and that like anger that she always poured into me to be who I was.
Right.
Grow like being as an adult. So
you're just like, oh shit, if I keep going on, like I'm gonna be her.
That's how I am with like anger too. Like, I wish I was better about it still. Like, sometimes I'll be so mean to someone, or I'll like distance myself. I think that's why it's hard for me to like really make good friends, because I like have a guard up all the time. I'm so used to, I think because I moved so much and like had no stable people in my life other than like my mom and grandma, I guess. It's like,
you don't want
these
that
people
hurt.
are just gonna leave again, or like, so I'm like always rude. But now that I'm getting older, I like try and be this like nice, happy person that I want to be, but it's hard.
It is very hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah. And with the anger, I get that too. Like, me and my mom's boyfriend used to get into it all the time. He would just call me nasty names, and I would just like give dirty looks to him, and then my mom would just yell at me for doing that. Like, didn't even...
You just felt so unheard.
And just... Like, I would just be sitting at the computer all the time, and he would like make weird noises and like say weird comments to me, and I'm just like leave me alone. Like, I would try to ignore him, but then as soon as I would do something,
like, defended him.
Yeah. And when I would bring that up to her, she'd be like, well, I went and talked to him in private. I'm like, why? Just say something to him right there.
Yeah.
Or like, he would go into my room, and I would do odd jobs for people, so I would have money like in my drawers. But I would come home one day, and he was in my room, like going through my dresser drawers and shit. And I would bring that up to her.
At your like with your personal belongings in there,
like in my underwear drawer.
To like take your money and stuff.
Yeah. And if I would bring that up to her, she would just like blow up on me, like, well, I told him to go in there because he needed gas money or whatever. Like, that's not my problem.
That's like one of the main things. Like, when I have kids, like, I do not want them to know money problems. Yeah. Like, I remember sitting there with my mom cutting a hole. Do you know how people would like cut a hole in the book? So you like close the book and you put it on the shelf and it looks like a book, but if you open it, there's a hole. Like, I remember cutting holes in my mom's books so she could stash money away from my stepdad. Yeah. God. So like, he couldn't find it. And like, I just like hope my kids never even know what that is.
Absolutely.
I think safety and consent are like top 5 things to teach my kids too.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't want them to ever feel uncomfortable or unsafe in my house. It's just...
Yeah. I never had super moments of that. Like, my old stepdad, I guess like I would call him white trash or whatever, but there were moments where it was fun. Like it's fun to go be hooligans in the white trash trailer park or whatever. But like
Yeah, it's not always a bad thing, guys.
But there definitely were moments where we would like go into someone's trailer, like his buddies that like all did drugs and stuff, and it was so uncomfortable. Like I literally was like, I need to leave. But like I was like 8 years old.
Yeah, that's
like
totally
where are you gonna go?
Not. Yeah. All right. We'll go move on to the next one, which is resources. Don't be afraid to raise big issues from safety to substance abuse in the family with your child's doctor so they can connect you with help. Your shame over these problems is understandable, but it is not worth putting your children at risk if something is amiss at home. Big thing. I was allergic to smoke growing up. And my mom's boyfriend would just smoke in the house or like smoke in the garage, and the furnace is out in the garage. So it would just go through the house. And I would get sick all the time. And I had to get my tonsils taken out. Not necessarily because of that, but just because I would be sick all the time. And she never like said that to doctors or anything. I'm like, that's huge. And like with your mom, I know you said that she had drugs and
yeah, she did. So she didn't do hard drugs or anything like that, but she definitely always, what's that called, abused her medicine,
Like her prescriptions.
or like pills.
Yes. And so she was really like dopey, extremely, like she would sit at the computer screen every single day for the entire day. We would walk, I would be 8 years old, and I would walk 4 blocks down the street because she didn't even know that we were gone or anything. And I would
you like try and like talk to her?
Oh, absolutely. She wouldn't talk to us, or if we did, then we were annoying to her and she would be exploding on us. And,
Right, so you almost like avoided it.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there was never a time where I was like, oh, I saw her pop pills, but I mean, it was quite evident the way that she was acting all the time. And she didn't even start getting better until it was right before I moved out into my grandma's, where and through this whole time she never had a job. We were only on like her unemployment and then like food stamps. So we were like extremely, extremely poor. And then we only had a house because she was a veteran and got the house that way, but it was extremely unkept. There were moldy pizza boxes. People would talk about me at school. If I had friends come over, I would have clothes with cat pee on them. I would have clothes with mold on them. I would have dirty hair that I never brushed because it's all ratty, and nobody would ever.
I remember this one time my hair was like, I never brushed it because I didn't know, like you're a kid, and my mom sat me on the kitchen table and chopped my hair because it was my fault that I didn't brush it. But like as a mom, couldn't she have taken 5 minutes in the morning and brushed my hair?
Or make sure that you do.
Yeah.
And I that it didn't get that way.
And like my mom, and looking back, like I'm thankful that she went to college and like went back when we were kids and stuff. But I remember like having to get myself ready for school. And my brother at this point, he would either drive us or we would walk, and we would have like cat pee on our clothes. And sometimes you don't smell it because you're used to it, but as soon as you get like into like an open area or like you go to school, you're like, oh my god, that's me. And it's like the worst feeling in the world.
Absolutely.
And then like this one time I missed my school bus, and my brother was already gone because he was in middle school and I was in elementary still, or no, he went to high school and I was in middle school, and I missed my bus, and they were like 2 different schedules, and he was gone. And I was like so terrified to wake my mom up. I walked all the way to school in the morning. Walked my happy ass all the way to school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was a long ass walk.
Yeah.
I was like so nervous to wake her up. I felt like she'd be mad at me for missing the bus. So I walked.
Wow.
There was this one time when I was 11 years old and I was living with my mom, and I was living in the basement, and it was an unfinished basement. So it was just cement, and then it was like a not very good house. So like the structure was bad, and if it rained, it would flood a little bit. And so there was obviously mold down there, and I would have my mattress on no frame on the cement and sleep. And it was so bad to the point when I was 11 years old, I got a black mold like infection, and it was in my ear from sleeping on my mattress because the black mold was got into the mattress, and it exploded my eardrum.
Oh my
And it was the
gosh.
most excruciating pain I have ever experienced ever before. And I was in the hospital for like, I don't even know, 4 days, and I lost
Oh, wow.
22 pounds, and I was 11 years old because I was throwing up so bad. But
Oh my God.
yeah, and
But that could have been something easily avoided.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And she never.
That's so crazy.
Literally, you can get a bed frame like on the side of the street. Like,
Yeah.
and that's just one of the things that could have changed. Alrighty, the next one is time. So you're rushed, your child is rushed, but if you can extend saying goodnight or simply sitting together or looking your child full in the face, even for another minute, it will increase your connection by orders of magnitude. That is one thing with my kids. I make sure that they get a book read to them, and make sure that they get night-night kisses and night-night hugs, and they're all loved up before night-night.
I think that's so important. Like when I have kids, or even now me and TJ do it, like, and we could be better at it. I think we're just not because we don't have kids yet and stuff. But like actually sitting down at the dinner table. I remember our dinner table was just full of mail, and like it was just like the place for catch-all. Like it was never really sat at unless we actually like cooked a nice dinner. But like it was always go, 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 eat on the couch, eat whatever you find in the fridge, cook your own dinner. Like, because my mom was so busy, and I get it. It's hard being a single mom. Like I couldn't even imagine being a single mom. So I get her working full time, going to school. Like I get all of that. So that's one thing that I like want to do with kids is like we sit at the table every night.
Yeah, and every night we have dinner.
So you can talk about your day, you know, and not watch the TV all the time. Like actually have family time.
And on the rides home, like from daycare or whenever I go get him, or even taking him to daycare, I just make sure like the radio's not totally blasted, and I can have conversations with him. Like we'll literally talk about balls for
the 30-minute car ride.
Just whatever he wants, and I'm just like teaching him stuff. Like he knows his address, and it's just like you just gotta have a connection with your child, even if you feel like you have 100,000 things to do.
Yes, I always try and ask, like, Braxton, how was your day? You know, what did you do today? And how did that make you feel? And I always explain everything to him. I think that's why he's so like detail oriented, and so he picks things up so well, and he's observant, because if whatever we're doing, I'll explain every single thing that we're doing, and he just loves that. And just taking that time at night is the best time ever, because they get a little bit sleepy and they cuddle you. And why not take, it's only 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes just to sit down and read them a book. Or bath time is really fun, and you get to sit there and play pretend. And that's a big thing for me, is to be so like imaginative and to play pretend. And
I wish that we were more like, I wish my mom was more creative and imagine. My mom is a really creative person, but like as a child I like had to grow up so fast, and we never did stuff like that. So now I am not creative at all. I think very logically, like so I wish that could have been done more, I think. And like I hope I probably won't do that with my kids because I'm not like that, but I know TJ is like that, so hopefully our kids will have like more of like a funny bone. Like I have no humor. Like I mean I can be funny sometimes, I guess, but like it's just not who I am. I always sat with the adults.
Your bluntness is really funny.
I always like sat with the adults. I always did the adult stuff. Like so I didn't get to like be fun. I never like got to have fun.
I think I'm creative just because my grandma would just give me so like crafty. A knit thing. Like, you know, those, they look like spider webs almost, but they're like plastic. Yeah. So she gave me a needle and like yarn and just like let me go at it. And I would sit in my room all the time when I got home because I didn't want to, like, I would just avoid my mom's boyfriend whenever I could. And I would just like sit in my room and just create stuff. Or I love organizing shit. Like that is my go-to.
My house.
You know I will. But yeah, I just love that kind of stuff just because of that. And when I like look back, like the only time that me and my mom would truly hang out or have like us time is like just watching like our shows, or like we would go shopping. But yeah,
I remember me and my mom's like us time. She liked to do my hair and stuff at night if I showered and stuff. But I would, and I still do it. Like, it's so weird, but it's like a habit that I have now. She would be showering or getting ready for the day, and I would just sit on the toilet and I would talk to her about what she was doing or like her day or my day. And like that was like our time because she was so busy running around that I would just sit in there while she was showering and talk to her. Right. And now I do it. Like TJ will be taking a shower and I just like keep babbling. I just keep talking about random stuff and he's like, leave me alone. And I'm like, no, this is my time to talk. I'm just so used to it.
Yeah. It's crazy how those things just like
stick with
carry over. Alrighty. A time out, but for the parents. So if you feel your parents' ways rising up in you, says therapist Leslie Moreland, walk right out of the room. Just keep walking. Have a cup of tea. Sleep on it. Nothing has to be settled that minute. So just take a chill pill. You're like, oh God, I don't want to do that. So just take time for yourself and think about it.
Yeah. My mom definitely could have done that more. I think she would have been less angry and less stressed if she did that.
Yeah.
She would put herself in a timeout if she was getting too mad. This one time, and I would have probably hit my kid too. I took a Sharpie marker on our brand new carpet, but I was smart. I drew boundary lines for me and my brother because we were fighting. And I was like, you can't cross my line. I can't cross yours. But I took a Sharpie and I just like dug that into the carpet. And my mom came up there and she whooped my ass.
She whooped my ass.
She whooped my ass hard.
Girl, you didn't think about tape?
Sure did not.
Girl, you should have grabbed the tape.
Yeah, I probably would have hit my child too, but she had to like, she like literally was like, I have to go lock myself in my room before I like keep hitting you. And then she hit my brother, but he didn't even do it. So then me and my brother ran away for like 5 minutes. But we lived in the hood. So we were walking and we like walked up to this park and it was full of like all these big scary dudes. And we turned around and we ran home.
You're like, no, dog. Yeah.
I was like, this is where we die.
This is like
they're gonna take these little white kids.
She gone. This is a really big thing for me because I actually suffer from bipolar disorder, and it's a really big thing in my life that I struggle with every single day. And I do get so like, you just get all this I'm such an emotional person, and I feel things 10 times more than what I should in every way. And sometimes I really have to be like, hey, you know what? I can feel myself getting antsy. I can feel myself getting angry. I need to separate myself and give myself that space. And it's really hard because Zach is such a lover, and he is like, oh, let's make this better right now. Let's fix this situation right now.
Just a teddy bear.
Get out of my face. So I definitely feel that we all need to definitely take a step back, and I'll go outside for a second and walk, or I'll go sit in my car. That's one of my favorite things ever, to like physically take yourself out of the
situation.
The house is so nice because these children.
I think it's really important for moms to do that so you don't explode on your kids.
Yes.
Because all they're seeing is like, oh, you're going to your car, or like you're going to run to the store, but they're not seeing you like cuss it. You know, they're not seeing you like get mad and angry.
Right. Because imagine just like a little person just walking around seeing all these big people, like, and they're the people that you look to, that they feel the most comfortable with, and they see that, and that's quote normal. Like, you should act like that when you're bigger. You should act like that now,
because that's teaching your kids to like separate themselves. But like when our parents would fight and stuff, like now that's what I do. I don't separate myself. I fight and I yell and I scream and I slam doors. But like if my mom would have just from the beginning like separated herself, then I would have never known that was an option, you know,
and have that pattern now.
I did this literally. I was cooking dinner, and he had a bad day today. He was just sad all day. Just anything would just set him off, just crying. And Nick like came up and he was like, just like, read the book to your sister just so mommy can finish dinner, because he was trying to get everything set up down here for tonight. And Renly started like screaming, and Wyatt started crying, and then Renly was crying, and I walked in there and I was like, why are you guys crying? Wyatt's like, I thought my sister yelled at me. He's like freaking out. I'm like, Nick, I need you right now. So I just like came back down and I had him come up, and I was like, I just need you. Just please take care of the kids. I gotta finish this dinner. Just focus on this, because I just emotionally just couldn't handle it at that moment.
Yeah.
So he just came up and took care of it and was just hugging them both. So that was really nice. And I do rely on him a lot for those moments. And I'm just glad that he's there.
Yeah. I do that even now. Like, even though I don't have kids, I'll come home and I'll start cooking, or like our kitchen is small,
You're
or
a
like
dog
our
mom.
counter space is small. So I'll start cooking, and then if you don't have room for like, you have all the ingredients out, but you don't have room for one of the ingredients, or something falls on the floor, I will lose it. I'll literally get so anxious and my temper will go up, and I'll just like have a meltdown, and I'll like start crying, and everything will just, and I'm just like, and she's just like, what happened? I was like, that stupid thing fell and this thing won't shut. Like,
and you're just spewing all this
and she
shit.
just like, tell me, I can help you, like, get me, like, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't even know. But he's so good at like saying like, go sit down and like, I'll finish it, or like, just tell me what you need help with. And like, I hope my kids see that, because I know my kids will have issues. I mean, I have anger issues. I have like anxiety and ADHD and stuff, and my mom, like my whole family, and it's hereditary. So I know my kids will have problems. So,
But you can work on everything.
Like, I didn't even really know that. I mean, I knew I had anger problems when I was a kid, when I was diagnosed with medicine that I was highly allergic to, and like rushed to the hospital. But then after that, I was like completely forgotten until I was in high school.
Yeah.
So like, I always just had to deal with it, or like thought it was normal to feel that way.
Yes.
And so I hope like I can acknowledge it with my kids, like when they're young, so we can like control it while they're young, and not have to control it when they already have, their brain is like already developed and stuff.
Alrighty. Next one is persistence. Your kids really want you to succeed with them, and they'll give you plenty of do-overs. It takes more than a few fails to shake their faith in you, so don't give up. When it means giving better than you got, you get credit for trying again and again. So, I mean, we all have our bad parenting days, I feel like, and just learning like about them, it just makes your next day better.
Yeah.
Even though you'll have another bad parenting day, like that next bad parenting day you learned from the previous, so it just makes you a better parent overall, just continuously learning what works, what doesn't, what makes them happy, what doesn't.
But then if you just keep doing it, like you apologize, and then you do it, and then you apologize, and you say it's never gonna happen again.
Yeah.
Like, that's when the kids start really noticing it, and like, they don't forgive you. Like that. I mean, that's why I had like so much built up anger, I think. Because like my mom would always say like, oh, your stepdad, like he's gone for good. But then a week later he would come back in. Or, I mean, she did that a lot with guys in general. She would be like, oh, we're done. But then they would move back. Or she'd be like, oh, I'm keeping this job. A week later she'd have a new job. Or like, she'd be like, this is our last time moving. A month later we'd move. And so like, then you just are like, okay, well, this is just routine. This is my life. And then it just like builds up and builds up.
Yeah. What about you, Jerica?
I really like this one because I'm a really big believer in every day you wake up and you can just try it like it's a new day.
Yeah.
And be a new person and try again and, correct the things that went wrong yesterday. And I have a friend that's told me this saying, and I really think it is so awesome. And she said that there's no one right way to be like a perfect mom. Like there just isn't. But there's a million ways to be a good one. And I try every day, to, do the brushing of the teeth every day. Let's do that. That's one thing that makes me a better mom than what my mom did with me, because she didn't even brush my teeth or help me brush my teeth. Having dinner at the table, or even just making dinner for them, making breakfast for them, having lunch with them, doing crafts with them, listening to them and what they have to say, being interested in something that they're interested in. And every single day I try and do that and be persistent with it, because I feel like that's something that my grandma did with me that was so amazing. And so I feel like I definitely try and do that.
It's definitely crazy how much routine helps, because like my grandma, we'd go over there every night. She'd be like, okay, brush your teeth, get ready for bed. She would put it, like, we would get in bed. Even if I spend the night, like if she was still alive and I spend the night at her house right now, she would do this routine with me. Brush our teeth, we'd get into bed, she would come in and she'd be like, okay, let's pray. And we'd say the same prayer, and she would literally ask me, like, what do you want to pray for? So we would do just like a basic, like, Catholic bedtime prayer. And then she would like let me pray for whoever and whatever I wanted to. And then we'd go to bed. And it was routine. And then we'd wake up and she'd make scrambled eggs and toast. And then we'd watch the news or something. Or we'd sit there and do the comics like in the paper and things like that. But at my mom's house, it was always like, go to bed when you want, or she would just be like, go to bed, it's time for bed. But never like take us to bed or like do things like that. And I think like those, like now, like those prayers and stuff with my grandma, or like just sitting in bed with my grandma, like those are the things that I remember.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
And like my family thinks I'm crazy because my kids like have a schedule, but it shows them that they're loved. Like they know they're gonna have breakfast in the morning.
They look forward to that.
They know that we're gonna have this activity at this time, or we're gonna do an activity, or we're gonna play Legos at this time. We're gonna have nap right after lunch. You know that we're having nap. And like if they don't have a nap one day, like sometimes we'll have crazy busy days, it literally will wreck the rest. It will just go downhill and like fuck the whole thing up. And they know that they're going to have snack. They know that they're going to have cuddle time with dad. Like they know all these things. They know how their day's going to go. They know that they're going to have electricity when they get home. They know that like our dogs are like good and cuddly, and they know to feed the dog, or like Wyatt knows to feed the dogs. And
that's so good for kids. Like I hope
it makes them feel loved.
Yeah.
It does.
And important.
Instead of just being chaos.
Yes, because there's so much stuff as a teen and as a little kid that goes on and happens to you, and because there's things that that we experience in life, and it is total fucking chaos all the time. But the fact that when we come home, or our children, my kids come home, and your kids come home when they get older and all that, or now they have that structure and they have that to look forward to, and they have that to make them feel warm and safe. Yeah. And so I think that is definitely a big thing, is to keep that going every single day.
Alrighty. For the plans, are like our plans on the biggest changes and lessons in parenting. For me, just making sure that my children feel loved. Sorry guys, I'm fucking up my words. And that they can come to me with anything. A good lifestyle, so teaching them how to eat healthy, be active, and have a good schedule, etc., while having a good work-life balance. And I think that's important to me. Like, I want to make sure that they feel important, not just like my job or crafting, and like they know like Nick is important to me, and that we have like mom and dad time, but also we have the mom, dad, kids time. And to not let anyone make you feel like you're not worth it, or to let anyone make you feel that you're wrong for your values. To just chase their dreams no matter what. Work hard and don't cut corners or take the easy way just because it's easy. I pulled a quote from Theodore Roosevelt that I fucking love. Nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, difficulty. I have never in my life envied a human being who led an easy life. I have envied a great many people who led difficult lives and led them well. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Well, thanks.
So I put encourage them and hear them out. And I said there's no way to be a perfect mom, but there's a million ways to be a good one. And I just want to be there for my kids in all of the ways that my mom wasn't there for me. And to be, hey, if there's something going on in your life, you can come to me, and I want you to feel like, we have that connection, because I never had that with my mom. And I want them to know that and encourage them, having a daughter now for sure, because growing up, I just did not feel that confidence in myself. And that was a really big thing, because I was a really, really insecure girl. And I want my daughter and my son to know that they're fucking awesome, and that they can reach their dreams and be an amazing person, and that there's so much more to this world. I want to be just a light in their life,
Bouncing off of that too, like my mom, like she taught me that you're only worth as much as people see your, like, or how people see you.
Yeah.
And like that, I think that's probably fucked with me a lot too, just because I always felt like
such a people pleaser.
Yeah, I always have to be that person for somebody else, and just know that you're fucking awesome. Even though like you have a bad day, or your kids, they didn't end up being happy for that day, but you know that you're parenting them and you're teaching them. And like, I know every mom on this earth feels like they're a bad mom at some point, but just going and learning and working on everything is
growing every single day is what already puts you ahead of.
Yeah. And truly caring about your children, making sure that they have what they need.
I think, like, going off what Katie said, the work-life balance is big for me. My mom worked a lot, and I want my kids to see me work, because I am really strong, and I think it was good that I saw my mom work and not just like sit at home and be like a stay-at-home mom, which they have a gift as well. But like, I want my kids to see me work, but I don't want them to know that that's all I do.
Right.
I want to make sure that my kids can come to me for everything, but also know that there's boundaries. Like, I want them to come to me for everything, but I want them to be able to, like, I want my advice to be parently advice and not be like friend advice.
Right.
Like, I want them to come to me for everything, but know that they're gonna get like in trouble, not in trouble, but like that I'm gonna like,
there's still that line.
Yeah, like, you can come to me and say like, oh, you partied, or you did this, or like you had sex or whatever, but I'm not gonna like be like, oh, that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna obviously
cool.
punish them for coming to me, but I want there to be like this, like the boundaries.
Yeah.
One of my big things, and me and TJ have talked about this a lot, is like setting them up for success. Like, I didn't know anything about saving, or like I would save money and then something would happen and my mom needed it, so I would have to give my mom my money, or things like that. So like, I want them to know how to save, or I want me and TJ to save money for them. Like, I want to be able to pay their college. Like, I don't want them to have student loans, or if they do have to have like a couple of years or whatever, but like, I don't want them to only take out student loans, or I don't want them to have to stress about buying their first car or things like that. Like, my first car, my mom bought me, but then the transmission blew and I had to fix it, or I had to pay for whatever, and then I had to buy my new car at like 17 years old.
Yeah. So
like, I don't want my kids to do that. And like, I don't want them to be the kids that are like, oh, my mom bought me my car and stuff like that, because they're gonna have a shitty car. Like, I'm not gonna go buy them I'm not gonna go buy them like a brand new car, but I don't want them to stress. Like, I want me and TJ to do everything that we can to make sure that they can reach their goals, because goals are hard to reach if you're
especially
not set up.
nowadays.
Yeah, they're hard. Like, it's hard to be an adult with no guidance.
Yes, it is.
Like, all I know is working your ass off, living paycheck to paycheck. Like, I don't know anything different.
Yeah.
So I want my kids to be set up for success. And I want them, a big thing, and my mom she always made it to our sporting events. She always drove us where we needed to go. Like, she would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, take me to practice. Like, and like, I want my kids to experience that, because I remember, and I will tell anybody this, I remember every sporting event, like, looking up in the stands and my mom would be there. And that was like huge for me. Or like, I knew that I could hear her yelling. Like, literally everyone could just hear her yelling. So like, one of us me or TJ, like if one of us has to work, one of us will be at every sporting event or if they're like a scholarly events, like literally everything.
Yeah. Alrighty. All right, guys. I think that's it for this podcast. I just want to thank everyone for listening to this episode. It was definitely a hard one. I know we were all on the verge of tears at some point in this episode. Feel free to reach out to me or Maddie in our group on Facebook, Uncorked. If you have any questions for Jerica, go ahead and DM her. Right?
Tell me about your life.
Yeah, DM me. I'm down.
Yeah. The goal in the group is just to create conversations and discuss different topics that you find interesting and where you can vent to people that understand you and laugh. Go ahead and join to stay up to date with us. There will be links in the description below to our group, some things we have talked about, and the wine we tried today, which is the French Lick Red Sweet Table wine. Before we go, though, Maddie, Jerica, let's go ahead and rate the wine. What do you think?
I'm gonna give it like a 6, 7. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I would say 7. It was like really sweet, super sweet.
But it wasn't like bubbly.
No,
It was good. I liked it.
I think we both agree that bubbly wines
Bubbly's
is
not
just
good.
like,
Not your cup of tea.
yeah. What about you, Jerica?
It's good. I like it. I'm not usually like a red wine drinker, but it's the sweeter wines, but girl, this is real good.
Yeah.
I'd do like maybe even an 8 or a 9. I really like it. It's good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It still has like that sour,
I like it.
fruity taste to it as well. All right. And I just purchased the wine from Walmart. I think it was like $13, so not too bad.
That's really good.
Make sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and we will see you guys next week. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.